Continuing now on our still developing story, the University of Missouri President Tim Wolfe has just announced he is resigning. He did that at a meeting of university officials, and our own Adriana Diaz was in that room as that announcement was made. She is joining us now by phone. Adriana, tell us about this announcement.
Elaine, you could hear a pin drop in that boardroom today. We were expecting the Board of Curators, that's the board that oversees the university, and the president to hold a meeting. We were packed in there, probably dozens of media in a small room. And then unexpectedly, the president said that he had remarks to make. He took the podium and immediately started off by saying that he is resigning as president. In an emotional speech, he said that he's thought and prayed about this decision and thinks it's the right thing to do. He addressed the students who are protesting against him, as well as the gentleman, Jonathan Butler, who is on a hunger strike, and said that he hears their frustration, that he takes full responsibility, and that the problem that led to this was that there was not enough communication, that those who are in a position of power, as well as students, weren't listening to each other and talking to each other. And he says that this has to change, and he made this decision out of love, not hate, and he wants his decision to help the university heal.
So, Adriana, I guess you answered my question at the top there, but it seems as though this announcement absolutely took people by surprise. I guess the question now is, do you have any indications at all from officials with the university of what happens next?
I think a lot of people were hoping on this campus that this would happen, but perhaps not this quickly. Even just this morning, Elaine, momentum just grew against the administration and against the president. A few hours ago, the undergraduate student body said that they are calling for the president to resign, and they represent 27,000 students. Local representatives were also speaking out against the president. And so there was a lot of momentum that really snowballed today. A lot of people taken by surprise, but others who probably saw this coming. And what's next? I mean, this is really number 2 of a long list of demands from the student group called Concerned Students 1950. That's the group on campus that's really forging this effort. Their demand number 2 was for the president to resign, and they just tweeted, you know, our demand number 2 has been met, but they have a bigger mission at hand. They want the president to write a handwritten apology. They also want the future president, the next president of the university, to be elected by a collective of students and staff from a diverse background. And they also want, by the 2017-2018 academic year, for 10% of staff and faculty to be African American.
Because right now, the student population, as I understand it anyway, Adriana, is 7% minority. Is that correct?
That's correct. 7%. Missouri as a whole is 12% black. And students here say this isn't a new issue. They've been dealing with racial issues, racism on this campus for years. But what seems to have really triggered this is that this semester there have been several incidences, 2 in which individuals were called racial slurs. One of those cases, the student body president, who was black, was called the N-word. And the other instance was a swastika was discovered in one of the dorms. And many people who go to school here felt that the president didn't appropriately address those issues, that he swept it under the rug, and when students wrote letters and tried to talk to him and reach out to them, that he wasn't there. But today he surely had, he took a stance of remorse. He said he took full responsibility. Whether or not he'll write that handwritten note that the students want, we don't know yet. But the next thing a lot of people are going to be focusing on is the athletes. The football team is on strike, and they called the strike until the president resigns. So we'll have to see if that strike is lifted. We expect to hear from the team and the coach later this afternoon. They have a football game scheduled against BYU Saturday. If they cancel that game, Missouri will have to pay BYU $1 million according to their contract.
And Adriana, as I understand it, there was also today set to be the faculty and students walking out. What has happened now, or what have you last heard? I know you've been inside that room just as that announcement was being made, but as far as you know, is that still the case where students and faculty gathering outside of their classrooms as a sign of protest.
That's right. 2 faculty groups called for a walkout. We believe that to be faculty that is comprised of a lot of grad students or perhaps grad student teachers were really pushing that effort, and they plan to walk out at the same time that the meeting where I was being held. But what we were told was that they were going to walk out to the same quad on campus where students are protesting and where they've set up a camp where they spent the night overnight to rally together. And they said that they would hold a teach-in, so perhaps try to use this moment as a teaching opportunity outside of the buildings in that quad with the protesting students.
Adriana, I want to go back to something you said a moment ago about obviously one of the concerns, the big concern is that according to some of these student groups, they feel that Tim Wolfe, in his role as university president, was not responsive enough. However, as I also understand it, according to various reports, there was in fact a response by the university when some of these incidents happened. I'm thinking of online training, racial sensitivity training. There were things to that effect, were there not?
The president did talk about a plan that he has already put into place that he actually started drafting this summer to promote diversity and tolerance on campus. And he planned to enact that with the other administrators in April. So his response to a lot of the students' grievances was, we are working on this. We know this is an issue. We have a plan in place. Give us some time to implement it. But for students, they said that wasn't enough. In a statement by the president just yesterday, he was holding strong and saying that he was not planning on resigning, that he hears the students' concerns, that he knows change is needed, but he certainly changed his position within those 24 hours. And then the news that we heard today that he is leaving his position as the president of the University of Missouri school system.
And in fact, it'll be interesting to hear as reporting develops about this, what changed in the last 24 hours. I can tell you right now, Tim Wolfe is trending currently on Twitter, some 23,000 tweets already about this particular issue. Adriana, where are you headed after this meeting? Where will you be heading to?
Elaine, once we finish up at this meeting, because the board is still meeting right now, and we hope that they're going to address the press afterwards. So we're holding tight here to try to get that, and then we're going to head back to the main part of campus, to the quadrangle, where students are set up in their camp and where we should be able to see those faculty who are staging a walkout.
All right, and we should let our viewers know Adriana will have a full report from Columbia, Missouri on tonight's CBS Evening News. Adriana Diaz for us at the University of Missouri. Adriana, thank you so much for your reporting.
Thanks, Elaine.